In the last video, we selected an image and we also set up our project with the amount of layers that we needed. So we have an image down here at the bottom, which is the photo itself. And on top of that, there's another layer that has absolutely nothing in it. So if you click off this image, you'll notice that that layer is completely empty. So what we want to do is paint on this layer, always on this layer, never on this layer. So what I want to do is go ahead and select over here on your left side where your menu, where your tool menu is. We're going to go down here to where we have these two little squares. The top square signifies the color that we're going to be working with as far as painting with this project. So if you click on it, you'll get this little box that shows up. It's actually best to check off where it says only web colors. This way it'll give you a nice, a better array of colors that are available to you. You'll notice that when you hover over your image right here, you'll get this drop tool, this Doppler, this little tool right here, which is called the Doppler tool. So what that does is it actually selects, when you click on anywhere on this image, it'll select that specific color where you're at. So if you notice, I selected this part of the hair here. It gave me that brown shade, that tone, that color. If I select here on the skin, here on the forehead, it gives me a different shade. If I select here on this shiny part of the nose, that's a much lighter shade. On the lips, that's a kind of a pinkish shade. So specifically where you click on, that's the color, the shade that you're going to get. So let's start, for example, if I look at this really light shade on the top of right above her brow, and I click OK. Now what I'm going to do is use this paintbrush, and the paintbrush is going to allow me to paint using that specific color. So right now I have this wacky kind of a paintbrush here, and it's very, very big, so I can always select, go up here to this little window, and I can make that paintbrush as small or as big as I want to. And then you can select all different types of paint tips. There's all kinds of different paint tips that you can use here, and you can kind of play around with that to find out what you think works best for your project. I like to give it a bit of a kind of a paintbrush effect. So I'm going to use something that kind of looks like a paintbrush for me. And so I'm going to take this one right here. I want the paintbrush to be fairly small. I don't want it to be too big. And so now that I have my paintbrush selected and the size that I want, I can actually start painting. So I'm going to make sure that I am on my paint layer. Never paint on your picture layer, always on your paint layer. And now I can actually get in here and actually paint on this layer so that I can actually fill in and paint sections of this image. I'm always here on the top. So what you'll notice is that it becomes a little hard for you to notice or know where you're painting and where the picture is, or which is the picture and where's your painting. So if you click on that layer where the painting is, you can kind of bring the opacity down a little bit on that, say to about 80 or so. And this way you can kind of differentiate a little bit better where your painting is and where the actual image is. So now I'm back here to the paint layer. I'm making sure that I'm on the paint layer, and I'm going to go ahead and click on this little square again. Now I'm going to select another section that has a different tone. So for example, right here on the upper part of her forehead, it's a little bit of a darker tone. So I can come in here now and sort of make another shape that kind of looks like what she's got going on here. And I'm filling that in and painting that in. And you want to work in small sections. You don't want to make big giant chunks of the same color, because that's not really going to end up looking like a painting when it's all said and done. The other thing you can do is you use the zoom tool and get in a little closer. So once you select the zoom tool, if you drag, press down on your mouse and drag to the right, you're going to zoom in. Press down on your mouse and drag to the left, you'll zoom back out. So that you can get in a little closer. Now once you're in close, if you hold down the shift key, the space bar on your keyboard, the space bar, you'll notice you'll get this little hand, and that will allow you to sort of move around a little bit in your picture. So you can kind of get in close to certain sections. Again, now we have another section here that's a little bit of a different tone, so I'm going to start again by going to the little square and selecting that section that has a different tone. And now I'm going to use my paintbrush and making sure that I'm on my paint layer I'm going to paint some more over here using a different tone of paint or a different color of paint for that particular section. So again, we're really just kind of identifying some areas where we're going to paint using different colors. And you'll notice I'm kind of using small chunks, small areas. Once again, I'm selecting a different shade, a different color. I'm back up here now. I'm kind of filling in this area here. You'll notice that you have a kind of this shade that goes all the way down through here. And then again, I'm going to go ahead and select this shade of the forehead. That's a little bit different. So I'm going to go ahead and select that. I'm just kind of guessing a little bit of what these shapes should look like. I'm kind of just guessing a little bit of what these shapes should look like. You don't really want to use, you don't want these areas to be very big. It should sort of look like a paint by numbers when you're all said and done. So you just continue to build your project by doing this same process over and over again. All right, here I am selecting another section, and then again, when I get into this area here where the eyebrow is much darker, as you can see. And then if you want to get some detail, you can get a little bit of a smaller brush. You can make it a little bit smaller, and you can actually get something that looks more like individual hairs if you want to. Maybe there are some highlights that you might want to use, so you can actually select a little bit of a lighter shade here, something that looks kind of a lighter brown, and then you can bring in some lighter shades in here and they start to show up. This is up to you how you do this, but you really want to take your time with this. The more you take your time, the more attention you put and time you put into this, the better your project is going to be. So let's just take a look at what we have right now. You'll notice that I have several different shades here on the top. When I take away this picture, you start to see that this looks more like a painting than it does a picture.